was a park ranger for nearly 10 years, from the time I was in my mid-20s to mid-30s. I spent most of my years as a park ranger at the Yosemite National Park, a breathtaking stretch of land that, in my opinion, has something for every nature lover. Whether you're camping in Curry Village, or hiking Glacier Point, or rafting the Merced River, you will have an unforgettable experience. My coworker Philip and I patrol a huge stretch of land from the Glacier Point to the Merced River, and even more in between. This story takes place during the summertime when our park is at its all-time high point for the season. Philip radioed me and told me there had been reports of a strange man lurking around a campground near Curry Village. I hopped in my pickup and met Philip at the gate of the campground. We decided to patrol this area on foot. The park doesn't allow us to carry guns, so we are equipped with large flashlights, nightsticks, and bear mace. The campgrounds are well lit and things are fairly visible. We fan out to cover more ground. I'm shining my light in a sweeping pattern to cover more space, and my beam illuminates a dark figure huddled over a tent. The man has a large knife in his hand. He freezes, tilts his head towards my position. Yelling for my partner and I ensue. The people staying in the tent are confused and yelling, "What is happening?" The man darts away from the tent and makes for the woods. I give chase and Philip flanks him on the opposite side. We know this park extremely well and are able to tackle him and pin him to the ground. The man had a ski mask on, and we found zip ties, chloroform, and condoms. This man was about to rape or murder someone. We kept him at bay until law enforcement arrived, and still to this day, I can't get that visual out of my head of him lurking over that person's tent. Story number 2. Fall was in the air, and the weather would be changing drastically soon. I pride myself on being one of the few female park rangers in the game. I'm new to the ranger service in my area of the Pacific Northwest. I love the outdoors and forest. I've always preferred wildlife and nature to people. I was working solo on a shift this past fall. I patrol any area of park that is roughly 100 acres. It is a massive area for 1 to 2 staff to keep an eye on regularly. My shift starts at 4 p.m. and ends at 12 a.m. So in early fall, it's dark around 6. I make my way onto a gravel road to start my checkpoints. The first 10 minutes were uneventful overall, until something caught my eye on the side of the road. I see a small car parked awkwardly near a small clearing of brush. It appears as if someone was trying to hide their vehicle. I am not armed with anything more than a flashlight and some mace. As I start to inspect the car, a man pops out from behind a bush and says, "My car broke down." I had an odd feeling about this from the jump. Your car doesn't break down and end up perfectly hidden in the underbrush. I told the man I would call for a tow, if that would help. He says, no, and that his buddy has someone coming to help get things fixed up. The man kept looking back and forth while talking to me. I was fortunate enough to see a reflection in the car's side mirror. There was a second man that was creeping up behind me. I was able to swing my body around and mace him right in the face. The first man grabbed me from behind and put something over my mouth. I went unconscious within seconds. I don't remember much after that. I eventually came to and was in the trunk of a car. We seemed to still be driving on the gravel road inside the national park. I was so scared, could barely breathe in this dark, confined space. I blacked out again and woke up in the hospital. Apparently there was a husband and wife that were out hiking one of the trails, and they saw the whole kidnapping. They followed the vehicle that I was trapped in and phoned 911. The husband was a big gun enthusiast and a member of the NRA. This guy pulled out in front of the car the men were driving and pulled out his shotgun and ordered them to get out. He opened the trunk and freed me. The two men are now serving 15 years for assault, kidnapping, and attempted murder. I'm close friends with the husband and wife all these years later. Thank you again for saving me that fateful day. Story number 3. The story takes place in the heat of summer. The nights were long and warmer than usual. My girlfriend and I are heading to our favorite national park to camp and swim for the weekend. We love anything and everything outdoors. My girlfriend and I arrive at the park at sunset. We set up our tent right away before it was too dark to see anything. We found a nice flat piece of land close to the river's edge. We have a nice 4-person tent which gives us plenty of room for comfort and space. We settle in and our campsite is dialed in. I started a nice campfire in the middle of our area, and we cooked some dinner over the fire. My girlfriend and I have a tradition of skinny dipping at night, wherever we end up camping. It's something about being in our early 20s and that whole wild and free vibe. Our campsite was deserted and empty as far as we could tell. We strip our clothes off and hit the cool, refreshing water. We swim for a while, and I notice a rustling in the trees on the other side of the river. The water line was about 40 feet from our tent site to the other side, so by no means was it a huge area. The rustling continues for 5 seconds and then stops. We can hear the wind blowing through the trees and the crickets as well. We're both silent, listening for a moment. My girlfriend notices a face dart behind a tree. It appears that someone is watching us. My girlfriend screams, and the man runs full sprint deeper into the forest. We swim back to shore and get our clothes on as soon as possible. I try to calm her down, but she insists on packing up our entire campsite and leaving for home immediately. Once we have all of our gear back in the 4Runner, we pull onto the main road inside the park and head for the exit. My headlights illuminated a dark figure on the side of the road as we pass. My girl yells, "That's him! That's him!" I slow down and lock eyes with the stranger. He smiles an evil grin, and I look in the rear view to see him waving in the middle of the road as we leave this park for the last time. I don't know what he had planned for us, but I'm glad we dodged that bullet. Hats off to my then girlfriend, and now wife, the mother of my children. I'm glad we listened to her instincts that night. Story number 4. My family and I went on a trip to Yellowstone National Park when I was 14. I am male and now 25 years old. My family consisted of my mom, dad, myself, and younger brother who was 10 at the time. My brother and I always loved exploring by ourselves as kids. The first thing we did when we arrived at Yellowstone was hop out of the car and run off. Looking back, my parents were almost too trusting of us. The parking lot we parked in was enormous. There were literally hundreds of cars all around. My brother and I were making our way to a creek near the parking lot to splash around and play in. I turned my back for 5 seconds, and my younger brother was nowhere in sight. I yelled, "Brian! Brian! Brian! Where are you?" No answer. I shot my gaze all around the area in a panicked, adrenaline-fueled state. My parents made their way over to where I was. My mom was in tears. My dad ran up to me holding Brian in his arms. He scolded me for running off and said that a park ranger saw a man walk off with Brian. My parents yelled their son's name. Quick thinking on the ranger's part, he sprinted towards my brother and saved him from an unknown, most likely fatal fate. From that day forward as brothers, I vowed to make it my life's responsibility to protect my little brother, no matter what. That day could have turned out much, much different. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate all the loving, supportive comments, Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for future content. If you want to support the channel, my link to my Patreon account is below. If you want your stories featured on upcoming videos, please email me at thesinfulsavant@gmail.com. My email is in the description box below as well. Please leave a comment letting me know what you guys want for themes in upcoming videos. I want to make sure I address what you guys need and want to listen to. Until we meet again, stay sinful.